Help me, ducks. Can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully, I'm appearing. Um, yeah, it's lovely to see so many people here already. I'm hardly surprised at the amount of people who are waiting, because as you will have seen from the title, I'm very blessed today to be joined by somebody who I've been a fan of their work for ever since I've had a channel and found out about the wonderful world of tarot and oracle. So just to give you a little bit of a background before I bring my guest on, Cilla Conway is an accomplished artist, intuitive visionary, a tarot creator renowned for her unique approach to spiritual and symbolic art. Her work often explores profound archetypes, combining luminous colour, flowing forms, and deep symbolism to create an evocative piece that resonates on a soul level. Cilla has designed several tarot and oracle decks, including Intuitive Tarot, the Devas of Creation, which have been celebrated for their ability to inspire self-reflection and personal transformation. Drawing inspiration from mythology, the natural world, and mystical traditions, Cilla's art seeks to bridge the gap between the conscious and subconscious realms, offering viewers a glimpse into the numinous. Based in northwest Italy, she continues to create and exhibit art and has hosted workshops that encourage others to tap into their own creative and intuitive potential. Please welcome the incredibly talented Cilla Conway. Hi, Cilla. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for all those nice words. And hello to everybody who's actually taken the time to say hello to me. I don't know about Villa. I don't know who Villa is, but hey,
Has somebody put that?
two people put Villa.
Probably the C is very next to the V on
It,
the
it
on the
is.
keyboard. So, how are you?
I'm good. It's raining here. It's probably snowing on the mountains, but tomorrow morning it'll look gorgeous.
Yeah, you was just saying about because I just mentioned in the bio the idyllic part of the world that you live in, how much you love being there. But you were saying just out of your window, two beautiful mountains. That must be amazing to wake up and see that every day.
It
So
is.
how long have you been in Italy?
7.5 years now. It's amazing.
Wow, wow. I bet it's flown.
It has actually. When I look back and think, my God, it's nearly 10 years and I have to renew all these things like my driving license and stuff.
Wow. Some people are saying as well that Villa is a generic autocorrect. So people have been typing Scylla, but it's been autocorrect into Villa.
Great.
So
Typical.
I don't know if you've experienced that much throughout your life, but it's my name. My first name is Brian. I use my middle name as Simon. Um, but the number of times it autocorrects for people to Brain, I don't know why. Brian is quite a well-known name, but yeah, the number of times I've had "Hi Brain" as an email message, or
Bloody
I could
woman.
be called worse things. But yeah, and that's technology for you. So those of you who've been a subscriber to the Hermit's Cave channel will probably remember we attempted this 4 years ago, didn't we? We sat
Oh,
down
yeah.
like this together, and it didn't happen. Technology wasn't on our side. Um,
Wasn't
but
really on our side today.
yes, you had a power cut, didn't you, just before? History almost repeated itself.
And you should have seen my hair. Before we went online, it was all like this, you know?
I got this very panicked email from Scylla saying, typical, I've just had the power cut. This was like an hour ago, wasn't it? But we got here,
We,
and here we are. And I think sometimes things happen for a reason, because when I think about what you've done just in the last 4 years that
yeah,
we can now talk about that we wouldn't have been able to talk about 4 years.
absolutely. No, that's right.
So So yeah, and for everybody in the chat, if you remember how we do catching up with, and if you have questions for Cilla, there will be an opportunity at the end or towards the end, and when that time comes, if you can put them in capitals, either myself or the moderators in the chat will help and highlight them if I miss them. So, I mean, I just kind of read your bio out, and an incredible journey, Cilla. What if you could take us back, way back? What first sparked your interest in art and or spirituality, and were the two interconnected, which very often they are?
Well, I wanted to be an artist when I was 4.
Wow.
So that's a long time ago. Spirituality, my mother was very, very Christian, and she tried to ram it down my gullet. It didn't
Yeah.
work. And I don't know, I suppose she wanted me to go to church all the time when I was 18, and I just finally said, no, I'm not doing it. And she had a blue fit. But after that, it was sort of like, I can remember her being in the kitchen and there was dust particles coming through with the sun on them. And I said to her, oh, look, gold, something gold. I can't remember exactly what I said. She said, it's just dust. And I thought, you're a bloody idiot.
Putting it bluntly.
That was about it in my mother for religion. But, for me, it was like more, I don't know what you call it. What would you call it? It's
I
more,
think it's like when you see the beauty in the mundane, isn't it? You see something extra to perhaps what other people see, and what would just be dust to some people, you see something quite spectacular and miraculous. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so at that age, you was just a very young girl at the time.
I
How
think I
did
was about 4.
how did your artistic flair develop from that point then?
Well, I wasn't very talented. I painted, but my parents thought I was a bit second rate. And I was at that stage, I didn't win any medals. So I just carried on. I was determined to be an artist. And they sent me to this horrible bloody church school. And I carried on drawing. But my dad was insistent that I had a brain and I should use it. So he stopped me doing art. That didn't go down too well.
Right.
So eventually, what happened is I left that horrible school and I went to a proper school. And fortunately, I think he realized that it was a good idea if I went to art. I had art tutor. I had an art tutor, and that got me through O level. And I went to a tech college in Durban in South Africa. Still not very good. And what happened then? Oh, actually, I dropped out in the middle of the
Out of
course.
art school, art college.
Yeah. And when I came back, I started painting more like art with watercolor and oils, and more or less taught myself. I wouldn't think it's a good idea for anybody who's really keen on being an artist to go to art college. It's not a good idea.
That's really interesting, though, isn't it? That trying to be taught art wasn't something that was conducive to you becoming an artist. So it was just exploring. What type of mediums did you use when you was starting out and doing art your way?
Watercolor at the beginning, and then I think actually it's quite nice because I've got this. Can you see it? I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know.
see if I can put you closer. Ah, there you go. Maybe people can see it better.
That was my first big oil painting. It's about 5 foot high. You can put yourself back now.
I'm just learning how to do it because it's completely. I'm like, how do I get myself back?
Yeah, so I absolutely art has actually probably kept me sane as I am. I'm not very sane. And that I painted that, and it was like, my God, what have I painted here? Sorry, I'll put it back. Where's it go? You can't do it.
Usually the opposite.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's the bloody camera. Right. You see the dark figure in the background.
Yes.
I didn't know it was there until I was. I've been doing it for about 3 months. I was getting bored, and I just thought, okay, I'll take a shot of it on my whatever those instant cameras were at the time. And the dark figure was like, oh my God, who is he? And that's why I finished the painting, because he's the night dancer.
Right. Wow. And how old is you at that point?
Oh Christ! Now you're asking. I don't know. Probably about 27.
Okay. Wow. So were there any, I know you said, it didn't really work for you in terms of a formal education around art and you found your own way, but were there any mentors, Cilla, or significant figures that kind of inspired you, particularly on your creative journey?
I suppose Van Gogh. I mean, I'd have to have him because I was born in Holland. Um, all the Blau Reiter, um, Mark, Franz Mark, and all that lot.
Mm,
Um, can't think of anyone else. I think I was sort of half asleep until I was about 35.
right.
Then I woke up.
Yeah. And do you remember that moment of awakening?
Well, I shouldn't tell you, but I fell in love.
You fell in love. Right. Okay. And so that also helped with your creative flow?
It must have done, although I don't think I was painting very much. Just I can remember it was like the world went from black and white into color. And now
Wow.
that is actually quite staggering when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. The Wizard of Oz moment, opening the door into a new world full of technicolor.
Yeah, maybe that's what made me sort of focus on the other world and
Yeah.
the Devas, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So how how do you approach how can I put it? Creating a new piece of art. What's the process? What comes first in terms of from getting from A to B to the finished product?
Well, the decks are different from the paintings. That one I showed you, I started. That's right. I went to a art exhibition. Bleh, put my teeth back in. Art exhibition on Picasso, and there was a painting I absolutely hated. To the extent when I went home, I said, "Okay, I'm going to do my own version," and that's what came out. But uh, the paintings get turned over and over until I find something I like.
Yeah.
The decks are different in that the intuitive tarot painted itself. Um, the shimmering veil, I don't know what the hell I was doing, but it kind of worked.
It very much worked. And just not to interrupt your flow, but it's just a thought that occurred because every time I look at, particularly, well, I say particularly Shimmer and Veil, but even Old Gods and Devas, I imagine these cards, and maybe it's because you've been so kind to send me huge prints as well that I've got framed on my wall. I'm looking at the Hermit now. Um, I imagine these to be huge, beautiful oil paintings that are now in tarot card format. Would that be the case? No.
This one is
That's
the biggest.
wow.
That's 5 foot 5 or something tall. I'm painting something at the moment that is 6 foot and had to be put on. blocks this morning so that I could paint on it. But most of the cards, most of the decks were small, painted, that big.
Yeah. Wow. They just, and for me, they're so emotive. I particularly, as I say, when I first held the Shimmer and Veil, I think it's only happened to me two, maybe three at the most, where I've had such a deep visceral reaction to the artwork. But it reminded me of standing in an art gallery and seeing these huge, beautiful oil paintings, because it's just that's the vibe they give off. So
Great.
that's interesting. So let's talk about your journey with tarot. Then, how did that come about? How did you first hear about tarot? Want to be a tarot creator? The intuitive tarot was your
Yeah,
first deck,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it?
That's right. That one, I think I must have painted. I can't even remember when I painted it. Oh my God, my brain. I told you my brain is gone.
The 90s, early 90s.
No, actually, I've just remembered that was 70s. It was really
70s.
early.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think I was quite depressed. And I started, that's right, my husband and I watched a program on black and white TV, which was about this big. And it was the Marseille Tarot, and I hated it.
Did you?
So I was like, okay, don't like these. They're ugly. And then about 6 months later, I was like, I have to have a tarot deck. So we trotted off to Harrods because I'd only been in Britain for about 6 months and I didn't know anything about, anything. We trotted off to Harrods and bought this Swiss IJ, is it?
No, the one JJ Swiss. Yeah,
I did that as well.
every
So,
a lot of people's first deck.
and so I hated it to the extent that I started painting my own cards, which were pretty bad. And then one night we were watching TV. I did a lot of watching TV on this black and white TV set. And I looked down and I'd drawn the fool from the intuitive tarot. I was like, my God, he is fantastic. Who is he? He was mad as hell. He just looks insane. And I was like, oh my God. And as I said, I was really quite depressed at the time. So I thought, all right, I'll paint him up. And he worked. And yeah. And he was just a pencil drawing, so I painted him up. And the next night I tried the magician, and he worked. So I thought, all right, well, I've never actually finished anything in my life. That was my mother's story. She never finished anything. So I went on, and I finished the deck. I think it took me 2 or 3 years to finish it. And quite a few of the cards, like the Empress, I couldn't paint at all. So she looks different from all the others. I couldn't paint the devil, and I couldn't paint the world. It's not really surprising if you think about it.
Do you want to expand on that then? I know you say it's
I,
why the High Priestess in particular.
I love the High Priestess. She's had a couple of goes on her, but she's lovely now. But
Yeah,
Empress, I'm not surprised I couldn't paint because, it's such a female thing. And I didn't
yeah.
consider myself to be female at all. The devil, he was very different at the beginning. No, that's death.
Oh, sorry.
Really, Simon.
I'm glad you know your cards.
Yeah. Now that, I think, is a really powerful card, but it took me, ages to get right.
Yeah, it
And
is a very powerful image.
the interesting thing is
Brilliant.
that quite a few people see one sex, and he's got two.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah.
men tend to see him as male, and the females see him as like that.
Yeah. It, I'm going the wrong direction as well now. Yeah. Wow. And is your tower card based on a real life event or
No, that was another one that I did after they were accepted for publication. They didn't like my original, which had lots of atom bombs and stuff like that. So they said, could I do it again? And that was what I came up with. But unfortunately, it wasn't Twin Towers or anything.
no, no, bit before the time then.
It was, yeah.
So, and I mean, how much? And I know you said you'd seen the Marseille deck, didn't like it. You thought you'd create your own. How much intuition played a part in just kind of disregard, not necessarily disregarding the archetypes, but putting them to one side and using your own intuition to create the deck that you created? Because I think it plays a huge part now, doesn't it, in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of Shimmer and Veil and Old Gods. But back then, with your first deck,
I think I read a hell of a lot. Oh, I got hold of Alfred Douglas's book, The Tarot,
hmm
and went through that with a fine tooth comb. And he mostly taught me anything I knew about the tarot at the time. I loved his work. I hadn't even really done very much reading from Jung or anything like that until I got hold of his book. So yeah, it was a combination. I started picking up on all the things I hadn't learned at school. I
mm.
don't think you should ever go to school at the age of 18. It's a waste of time.
Well, I actually went to school when I was 31,
Yeah, I
back to
went back.
school.
I went back to school at when I came here. Did I do
Yeah.
my? Did I do a degree here? No, I'm lying. I went back before I came out here. Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to, for me personally, with having ADD as well, the school environment wasn't conducive for learning. The whole kind of swatting for exams
Oh
wasn't
God.
my learning style at all. So
No.
I absolutely abhorred school, couldn't
Mm,
wait to leave. And I think I needed that 15 years in the world to then decide what I want to do and then work out what qualifications I needed to
yeah.
be able to go and become what I wanted to become. And it sounds very, very similar in terms of your journey as well.
I always wanted to do art.
Mm,
Being sent to art college, even though it took my dad about 5 years to actually do it, um, it still didn't really do it for me. The tarot did it for me. That's what taught
yeah,
me everything.
yeah. And where do you find inspiration for the symbols and archetypes that you use within your work? Because they are otherworldly, and
Mm,
that's something I really want to explore with you because you've certainly, in terms of my practice, opened up. Um, that these are for me, in a lot of sense, portals into into other realms. So
yeah, yeah.
where did that come from, Cilla?
Well, the IT, the intuitive, opened up a door for me, but there was an awful long time between the intuitive tarot and this painting because that painting really taught me a lot. I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, this is all inside me.
Mm,
So I'm not as idiotic and stupid and whatever as I thought I was. Sort as I say, it's like 5 foot high. That's a big painting for someone who's
yeah,
also 5 foot high. Um, but I think it was Jung reading, Alfred Douglas and pointing me in the direction of Jung.
mm,
That he just taught me everything about archetypes, especially as he found it all out himself. It was incredible what he did.
yeah, absolutely. And also, without being just too flippant about it, but also in some cases stating the obvious, stating what we already know and reconnecting us
Yeah, yeah,
to that knowledge.
yeah,
It's something that I just find mind blowing whenever I read any of his work.
yeah. He's not
So,
easy, but he
oh,
really did it, didn't he? He
yeah,
really,
yeah,
really did it.
yeah, absolutely. So, so then what came next? Was it Devas? Was it Byzantine? Or
Oh, the Byzantine, I don't even count.
you don't count it?
No, it was a paint, more or less a painting by numbers, you know?
Right, I've got two. There's two versions out. I don't know if you're aware.
I
Two
did
different,
exactly the same.
except for the cardstock.
Yeah. No, wait a minute. That was 87. And then, oh, I painted, oh,
You okay?
my, my thing has disappeared.
Oh, I can still see you and hear you. Everything's still the same this end.
Well, that's all right, because I can't see or hear you. Well, I can hear you, can't see you. Anyway, fine. I'll continue blind.
Okay, it might come back. Here's hoping.
Right. Um, yeah, so I painted quite a few of what I call the big pictures. And then after a while, the energy just died and I couldn't get it back. And I was sort of distraught, don't know what to do with myself. And then the Devas happened. I went to a talk on angels, that's right. This guy who did angel readings. And I don't believe in angels anyway. I believe in energies, but I don't believe in sweet little angels, you know?
Mm.
And I went to a talk on him. He was really good. And I went up to him and at the end and I said, the decks you're using, who's that? This is probably going to be terrible. Who's that woman whose decks you use? Because they're bloody horrible. They're all twee. I said, someone should paint a deck of ang- angelic energies the way they really are, so that if you walked into a room and you encountered one, you'd be absolutely terrified for 2 weeks. I'm going to see if I can get my screen back. Hold on. There we go. Got it back.
It's
Phew.
time out.
Um, yeah, said someone should paint a deck like that. And he said, well, why don't you? And I thought,
Nothing like a challenge, putting it right back at you.
why don't I? Everything I paint is energy. So I went back the next morning and I just started. Have you got the Devas there?
I have.
Okay, it's not that one. There's a great big yellow painting, which is probably about number 10.
Let's have a
It's
look.
golden rather than yellow, sorry. And I should have them downstairs, shouldn't I? I haven't.
Number 10, did you say?
It's around
See,
that.
none of them are in order because obviously I use them. So I'm at
Um,
31, but I'll see if I can
if you
find
can't,
it.
it doesn't matter. But I had this orange piece of cardboard, and I thought I'll start on that. And this angelic being happened. It's like, oh, right, good grief. Um, and I think I thought, okay, so these are not angels. These are something else. And I'd been to Findhorn, and so I thought they're Devas. Devas. I always say it wrong anyhow. Um, and I just carried on painting. They took me 5 years, but they're the portals, you know.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I don't do enough work here, but in the UK, I would go out and sort of connect with the energies.
This was my first. I mean, there's not 10, but here's a few. I don't know if it's any of these. It's that one, which is 12.
No,
Um,
that one,
that one.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at that. And this is how I discovered your work. I bought this from Watkins in 2017.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I think I think you saw the review on it, and that's when
Oh yeah,
you connected up with me, and we spoke about you was just about to release the Shimmering Veil then, wasn't you? I mean, it's just so oh beautiful. And there's all energy in there. It's some are darker, um, which encompasses everything, doesn't it? It's a spectrum, and
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I wanted. Having sweet little angels doesn't do it for me.
no, no, and you're right. Otherworldly energies. Um, I think many kind of religious movements make them or personify them and make them more palatable. But yeah,
For me, creation has got to have dark and light, otherwise it's not creation, is it? But that's
exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, everything is duality. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So
And this really took off. So this,
yeah,
I suppose it was this deck where, um, in terms of your presence in
yeah,
this community, really solidified. What was that like? The response to
it was
Devas?
amazing. But I always thought of it as a sort of slightly, what's the word I want? Teeny weeny, cliquey type thing. Um, and when I got here, one of my friends in England was saying, no, you should republish the Intuitive Tarot. And I was saying, no, it's another deck that isn't going to sell. And she said, no, try it. So I put myself on Facebook. There is some good in Facebook, not much, but, and had all these comments. Oh, sell it, sell it, yeah, yeah. So I thought, all right,
What's this all about?
yeah. And so I republished the Intuitive Tarot and suddenly had a presence. The Devas, for me, are more advanced.
Mm,
Unless you feel energy, you'll get more from the tarot. Apologies for everybody who thinks I'm wrong. But yeah, I still think that the multidimensional Devas, the second one I painted, is probably my best deck. Yeah, that one. Because I absolutely love that creation creature.
yeah.
He is wonderful.
And taking it to another level with the 11 dimensions that you talked
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
how would you say then that your understanding of spirituality or spiritual realms, I should say, has evolved through your artistic career, particularly to go from Devas of Creation to the multi-dimensional Devas?
I don't know that it has evolved. I think it was always there.
Okay,
And when I paint, it gets some form. Uh, yeah,
just show a few while you're talking. They're beautiful,
I
beautiful.
love that one.
Yes, I do. I do. Looking down at the world,
Yeah, and
just
as a child as well.
yeah,
That's one of the last ones when I was really becoming aware of what we were doing to the earth.
yeah, yeah, and that those levels, taking us through. Oh, it's almost like what the world was, what the world is, and what
Where the hell it's
we're
going.
what we're going to do to it. It's
Well,
it's
that's
it's
what
really powerful.
I have to say that's really bothering me now because
Mm,
what what'll happen over the next 4 years could be catastrophic. Oh,
yeah,
I like that one. Yeah, that was a difficult one to paint, actually.
was it? Why
Hmm,
was that?
I don't know. Some of them work and some of them don't. I need to get. I mean, there's so many colours in that, and you need to get them right. Yeah, I'm not sure that one. It works, but I'm not
It
sure. I
does
like
work. That wingspan as well.
it.
The
Good.
uh, almost reminds me of like one of the angels on the Ark of the Covenant. That sort of leaning over with the wingspan. Just
Yeah, that'd be interesting if we ever find that again.
yeah. But
In melted down.
in terms of that protectiveness,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful deck. All your decks are just
Thank you.
stunning. Okay, so after Devas,
After
what's
Davis,
next?
I republished the Intuitive.
Hmm.
Then that was what, 2017, 16, 17. Then there was the Shimmering Veil, and the Shimmering Veil was just fun. I just had a ball with that. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't even painting it for myself. I just wanted to see where it was going. So it was actually really amazing. At the very beginning, we put it. Oh God, is that the Shimmering Veil?
Yeah,
I forgot
is
about.
that the shimmering veil?
Um, yeah, we put it out, and that's right. It started selling like hotcakes, and I think, oh, that's right. I had the person who was sending them out, and she managed to lose a box. So I was like, oh my God, I better order some more. And so that was the Shimmering Veil #2, which has foil on the edges.
Yeah,
That one.
and this beautiful reflective kind of almost what do they call it? Iridescence, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
beautiful.
That's really good.
I mean, even I mean, I've worked with this deck now for is it 2020 beginning? I think I got this right at the beginning of lockdown,
Yes.
and I think that also was a contributing factor to me having so much time with it because it was a deck that came in at the beginning of lockdown, and of course, being locked in at home, living on my own, I just got to spend so much time with this deck. I don't know if you've seen my top 10 tarot decks of all time.
Of
And I
all
always say,
time,
you
no,
know,
I haven't.
my soul deck is always the RWS. It's just my deck. That to me, that's tarot. I know Marseille and things predate that, but this I had as my favorite all time tarot deck, um, outside of the Pamela Coleman Smith, because it just you know sometimes you struggle to put into words
Mm,
how something touches you because it is so deep that
mm.
you find it difficult to articulate. And I mean a judgment card like this, I mean it's just
That is
um
actually stars, whatever those stars are. The 6 or 7 thingy stars.
yeah,
And I saw it
but
and I thought that's judgment.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the issues I have with the judgment card is it's over religious, sort of the angel trumpeting and having to
Yeah,
stand
yeah,
before your final judgment. This isn't. This is, you know, the ascension of
yes,
souls,
yeah.
and just incredible. Um, there isn't you know, sometimes you'll get a deck and you'll look through and you think, that card doesn't really speak to me. There isn't a single card in the Shimmering Veil that is,
Brilliant.
yeah, it's just, and I love this because I've got this on my wall thanks to you. Um, so yeah, and like I say, I don't know if you've seen the comments in the Hermit's Cave Facebook group, but ever since I put in that I would be speaking to you today, Shimmer and Veil,
Brilliant.
everybody's talking about it. So yeah, it's a deck that will stand the test of time. There's no doubt. You know, it's not a deck that you look at and think, well, that's very 2020s. You
Mm,
know,
mm.
I think in generations to come, this deck will
I've got
still
that
be.
up there. You can't
Is
see it.
that what?
Yeah,
Yes, I can see the bottom of it, the
you can see the
hands.
whole picture there.
Yeah, I mean, incredible image. So, how long did this deck take you? Because these are 78 masterpieces.
I don't
How
think
long
it
did
took
it
that
take you
long.
to
I
really?
honestly can't remember when I was working on it, but it was, you're right, it was before lockdown. But it now it seems to be that it went very fast.
They're wonderful
Thank you,
images and
whoever you
art.
are.
Some lovely comments coming in as
Thank you.
saying maybe part of the spirit man as he gushed over it. I don't mind gushing.
I don't mind
Um,
blushing. Why the different Queen of Wands, is that right? Oh, well, they can ask it.
oh, the snake, and
Yeah,
yes, do you
yeah.
want to talk about that?
Yeah, why not? Okay,
And the two
because
fools, perhaps as well, would be good to mention those two.
the Queen of Wands, because my sister-in-law, who is now um, hated snakes, couldn't deal with snakes at all. And I know quite a few people can't deal with snakes, so I painted one for people who actually can't deal with snakes. Tough
Yeah,
shit, really.
yeah, and that, I think it was right at the beginning, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Yeah, I remember seeing it at the beginning. So that's the alternative version.
She's just dealing with electricity, I think.
Yeah, yeah, the energy flow.
I
Brilliant.
would always use a snake, but that's just me.
And then we
The
have
fools.
the Fool and the Golden Fool, don't we?
I think that's because it always seemed a little bit odd to end with the world or the universe or whatever. I wanted something that took you further into the unknown. And I've done that with most of my decks, actually. Two Fools.
So the original Fool, well, the Fool at 0
Mm-hmm.
that we would usually
The
have in the
butterflies.
tarot. And then we have card 22,
It
which
probably
is
does
the
people's
Golden
head
Fool.
in because he's black, but hey.
It's what, sorry?
It probably does people's head in because the first one is light and the 23, whatever that number is black.
Yeah. But your description of this was beautiful. It was talking about the fact that the Fool is starting out and
Yeah.
is raw. His hasn't had the experiences, and then obviously going all the way through the major arcana and achieving his fullness,
Mm.
his
I still,
greatness, his knowledge, and
but I still think that this whole thing about, oh, dark people and light people, the whole thing about dark and light is ridiculous.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, um, we've just spoke about, haven't we, about duality in all things. Everything has balance. Had you mentioned that? Had you had criticism about that then, or comments made about it, or
No, but I wouldn't have taken any notice of them if they had, so.
yeah, yeah. So the Shimmer and Veil, obviously, 2020, and then you went turbocharged. It was like every time I spoke to you, I'm working on this, and this at the moment, and there'll be 3 decks coming out, and I was just like, where does this lady get her energy from?
Absolutely.
So
Because especially with the lockdown, that was Book of the Dead. Because I opened my front door, went out, and the neighbors said to me, "You can't go anywhere." I was like, "Oh,
mm,
what do I do then?" So I grabbed some money. I was able to get some money out and a few groceries. Went back inside and thought, okay, what do I want to paint? And I had this rather strange picture of a ghost horse or something like that. And there was something else that was also about death, and I thought, it's about death, isn't it? So I just started painting, and the Book of the Dead came out. I love that deck. Actually, it's a very popular deck too.
yeah. So that's this beauty.
The golden one, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Again, a deck that when I got it and opened it up, I just thought, wow, very very powerful. Um, images.
They are, aren't they? I'm amazed
Yeah.
at myself sometimes.
And again, this is beautiful. It's got
Yeah,
similar to the shimmering veil, but in gold. But
yeah.
again, that beautiful iridescence, and just some really beautiful. How do you just play around with color to get these images, or do you kind of have a vision, or do you just kind of just allow that free motion when you're painting to see what's coming forward?
Most of the time it's just accident. I love painting in oil because, especially this big one I was telling you about. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean that one you've just shown me. Not that one.
No, no, I'll go back. It was that one.
That one I wanted to paint for my dad because he was a sailor and I thought he would love the sea.
Mm.
Um, some of them I have to have an idea and I paint the idea. That one was the very last one I did, the last
The
painting.
death.
Yeah,
Yeah, just beautiful. I mean, and then look at that.
that's the ghost horse that began the deck.
Yeah,
It changed though, because
but that's something else, isn't it? You might have that sort of that initial inspiration, but then the finished product can, it's what you've kind of put into it.
mm.
Again, it's talking about that intuitive element of.
Also
I mean,
Photoshop.
okay,
Photoshop is good.
is it?
Mm. Yeah, I like that one.
I do. Yeah, gorgeous. So that's the Book of the Dead. Let's pop that back. So, and when was it? Is this about 18 months ago? I'm terrible with time. I think things are
I
like a few
painted it.
weeks ago, and people say that was a year ago now.
Yeah, no. I painted that in 2020.
Okay,
So it
it
must have
took
been.
a couple of years to come out, though,
Yeah,
didn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful.
What
And
was
then
the Book of the
from
Dead?
Book of the Dead,
Wasn't that the old gods?
yes, because Oracle of the Future was your last
Very last
one,
one. Yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah.
that was
So then
excellent.
we have
Yeah,
the Old Gods.
yeah.
Now, tell me, because this is quite a kit. It's a bigger book.
Mm.
You kind of changed or the shape of the cards. What was the inspiration behind the Old Gods?
I had read a book. I think I put this in the book called "The Old Gods Laugh," and I always had this really clear image of all these old gods on Mount Olympus or something, laughing like a drain. And yeah,
So
I was
beautiful.
also bored with rectangular decks, but I didn't want oval decks because they were just didn't work. And I also decided that it had to be a Marseille type deck because I was bored with Rider Waite types.
Yeah. So in terms of Marseille types, but you use objects that are from those times, don't you? Rather than just you know um, your standard swords, wands, cups, coins.
I did a hell of a lot of research for that deck.
I bet.
Um,
I mean, look at that.
yeah, there was something on Facebook the other day, and they were talking about these people with elongated heads, and they were, I think they're in there as well, or if they're not, they should be. Yeah,
Oh, so beautiful. And this is our what would be our coin suit.
yeah. There were lots and lots and lots of coins and lots and lots and lots of antique things, but it was great to do. It was really fun, such fun.
And how did you research them? Is it going to like natural history museums, websites, or how
Online.
did you research them? Online?
Online, because I'm here, you know. You don't go
Yeah.
to well, the reason I came to Italy was so that I could go to museums. Have I got to any museums?
And I was going to, just as a little segue as well. So you mentioned earlier you was born in Holland.
Mm.
You grew up in South Africa. You've
No,
obviously
Zimbabwe.
lived,
Zimbabwe.
sorry,
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe, and then obviously you've lived in the UK and now in Italy. Do you class yourself as somebody who um, is a bit of a free spirit and doesn't want to be particularly locked to any geographical area?
No, I think I class myself as a European. So
Hmm.
having a British passport doesn't really work for me, and I
Yeah.
want to get rid of it. But I think I class myself as unconventional and bloody minded, basically.
We wouldn't have you any other way.
Oh, Carly, I like Carly.
Yeah, just fantastic. So, and then obviously we come bang up to date with Oracle of the
Oracle of
Future.
the future.
What inspired this? Need I even ask, really? With
I wanted to do another deck. I hadn't finished, but my God, it was difficult because I didn't know what I wanted to say. So I knew I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what it was. And so I went through sort of daubing, painting, and thinking, no, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. Until finally I thought, okay, it's the Oracle of the Future. It's not a particularly easy deck, I don't think. What did you make of that one?
do you know, I decided, and I think I might have said on the video, the best thing for me to do with the Oracle of the Future was not to use it for divinatory
No, no.
purposes, um, which you know may sound strange with it being an oracle, but these have really powerful and profound messages. So for me, it was pulling a card and sitting with that image. You write beautifully in all of your books, and I had a bit of a rant yesterday reviewing a deck because there was some amazing artwork, and when I went to the book, it was just generic text, and I was like, I want to know why you was inspired to create this image. I want to know what's happening in this scene. You really do that. So for me, this is one of my favorite cards. By the way, I just think this is just exceptional. I mean, your work is, but in particular, that card, that could be on the front cover of a National Geographic magazine, couldn't it?
Wow.
Um, and so yeah, it's to kind of just sit with these images and the way you write. It's just it's inspiring, and I think you've called it Oracle of the Future for a reason, but it's almost like your legacy
Yes,
saying to people,
yeah.
this, come on,
Wake up.
wake up. Absolutely.
And then we had the US election.
Yes.
Don't talk to me about that.
There's I just feel right now there's a lot of heaviness, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be not to be ignorant and to be informed, but at the same time, I don't know where to go for my news sources anymore because I just don't trust whatever I'm hearing.
I don't think we can't trust anything we see, and we can't trust anything we hear anymore. You've just got to trust what's inside, I think.
Yeah, and when when the results came in, I thought, I just don't want to see or hear that man or hear his voice for 4 years. So can I go 4 years without listening to the news, watching the news? And I thought probably quite happily. I'm sure if anything major is about to happen, somebody will tell me. But
But I
just
don't think it
because
was
of the
him.
impact.
I don't
Sorry?
think it's him. I think it's the money men behind him that got him in.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And
he's
and
just
and
a figurehead.
and that's it, and there's all this week again. I've not been watching the news, but people at work are talking about it. That Elon Musk is going to give 100 million to reform to make
Someone
sure
could
that
actually send that man to Mars without a parachute.
this is. I mean, it's gorgeous. Every This is another favourite of mine. I
Yeah.
think that is such a beautiful,
And that
beautiful,
is what
and
I was
powerful
hoping
image.
we would get. But obviously not. We've got lessons to learn, apparently.
Yeah. So, um, I think, and this will probably upset a lot of people, but I know we spoke. You were saying that that's basically it in terms of what you want to put out into the world. So
Yeah.
no more oracle, no more tarot. So what do you want to do next?
Well, I told you I'm painting this thing, which is a double-sided screen that I got given. And I didn't know what I wanted to say, so I just started painting. I do have it on my phone, but it's not a very good picture, so I don't know what to do with that. Um, let's see if I can find it. This is a bloody horrible phone, but talk away amongst yourselves. What am I doing? Ah, come on. I hate this phone. Hold on. I'm waiting for the new Samsung.
How are you?
Yeah. 3 months without a proper phone. Come on. Okay. It's not going to be very good, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but where was it? Where's the gun?
Up, up, up a bit more.
It's disappearing! Stupid bloody thing!
Let's
Oh,
um let's make you bigger for a second as well. That might help if you're trying to show something.
oh, camera.
There we go.
So you can't really see it, but that's what it looks like.
Wow.
And what I like about it is that it's painting itself, but it's
Wow.
saying something actually quite good. So I can live with
Yeah.
that.
And then do you display your artwork? Do you display in galleries and
No, I
no?
had a small exhibition when I first got here, and people don't really do tarot. I mean, they do, but they don't do it in English. And so I stopped. But I actually prefer painting for myself because then it's uncluttered and I can come up with whatever I want. That was the downside of the decks, that I had to paint more or less to order.
Mm.
So this thing is, God knows what it, at the moment it's called Night Dancers Mark II.
It's called what? Sorry,
Night Dancers Mark II. This is
Night
Night
Dancers Market.
Dancers Mark One.
Yeah. Wow. And again, what's the span between Mark One and Mark Two in terms of time?
87 to 200,
So
2024, whatever that.
37 years. Wow. I only know that because that was the year I left school. And I said to somebody today, it's 37 years since I left school. So that linked in. We've got a question here from Chris. He says, I've seen a lot of chat from small businesses who are now unable to ship to the EU. That's from this coming Friday, isn't it? The 13th.
What? I
Are
haven't
you
seen
still
that.
going are you still going to be able to ship out? I think it's, unless I'm wrong, I think it affects the UK shipping into the EU. But of
Probably.
course, you're in the EU, so I'm not quite sure. But yeah, there's loads of small businesses that are really struggling because there's all sorts of legislation that they brought in terms of risk assessing and everything else, and it's putting such a burden on small businesses to meet the regulations. They're hoping that there might be a solution to it because it's just kind of been rushed out.
As
And
usual.
and big businesses can take that hit and deal with it, but smaller businesses are going to take a time. So there's lots of small businesses have been posted saying after Friday the 13th we won't be able to ship to the EU because of these arbitrary regulations that are coming in. A couple of questions then that I've got, and again, if anybody else has, we're coming up to the hour mark, but if which is flown this hour, if anybody's got any questions you want me to put to Cilla, now's your chance. But I'll just ask you a few that I thought of to kind of wrap up. So, what messages or emotions do you hope people will take away from your art and your tarot decks, of course?
Need to look after the earth.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Otherwise, we're dead.
Exactly, and I don't think people realise the consequences, do they? And we take the planet for granted, yet it's the only thing that sustains us. If we haven't got it,
No,
then we cease to be, don't we? So, and what's been your most challenging project that you've worked on, and why?
oh, bloody hell. I think it was the Byzantine because although it's a pretty deck,
Mm?
I paint from the inside, and this was definitely from the outside, which is why I don't really count it.
Yeah.
It's a nice deck, but
It is. The artwork is, I'll just show a couple of cards. The artwork is really beautiful, but it's very different
hmm,
to your art style.
yeah,
And a few people have been like, wow, you wouldn't know that was Cilla's work. This is the new version with the thicker matte um, cardstock.
you can buy it through Amazon, which is why I don't push it on my website.
Yeah, I tend not to send people that way. I don't know if Cheryl's in the chat. Oh, she is. I just saw a comment. And Oneness Emporium as well is a great UK stockist that we've got, because
Hmm?
Amazon now is just full of so many knockoffs, so many counterfeit decks that it's
Yeah,
impossible to tell until they arrive. And you're thinking, whereas, the Oneness Emporium, they get the decks in, they buy direct from Schiffer and US Games and
right.
all the big publishers, so we know we're getting the genuine deal there as well. But and yeah, you worked with John Matthews, of course, on that.
That was mostly John Matthews that I painted the Byzantine because he was doing some publicity stunt on one of his decks because he's got lots. And I went up and chatted to him, and I think, I'd got a postcard of one of the guy who turned up in the Byzantine Hermit. He's the Byzantine, and it came from that big monastery in wherever it is. I told you my brain had gone. Anyway, so we were chatting about how beautiful Byzantine art was, and he said, "Oh, I really, really want to do a Byzantine tarot." And I said, "Well, I've got this fantastic piece of artwork that I wouldn't mind expanding into a tarot deck," and that's why we paint. He did the blurb, I did the artwork.
Yeah, and there's a fantastic collaboration talk with you and John on Watkins'
Yeah,
website. Well, not website, but their YouTube channel. I can remember watching that a few years ago now.
he wanted me to do another deck a couple of years
Did
ago.
he?
That's right. When I was trying to work out what the hell to do with the Oracle of the Future, he said, "Well, could we do this?" And I thought about it, and I did a couple of ideas, and then I thought, no, it's not my idea. I don't think so.
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, I know you feel that you've put everything you want to put out there, but never say never. I think people are hopeful.
If John comes up with something I really want to do, then I'll think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's done lots of cleverish. Have you seen his the deck he released this year, the New Fool's Journey, which
I
is
saw it. It looked quite interesting, didn't it?
yeah, it is. It's an interesting concept, but I really enjoy it. Um, have you encountered creative blocks or periods of self-doubt? And if
Oh,
so,
God, yeah.
how do you work through that? Because I'm sure there's people watching this who's perhaps in similar
Get
situations.
drunk.
Get drunk.
I don't drink, so no. The worst was actually before I started the Devas because I painted my big pink pictures, all of which were really powerful. And then the energy went, and I was like, what do I do now? Um, and I think that's why I went to this talk on angels because I needed inspiration. I got it, didn't I?
So, Cilla, looking back on your career, just your life, I'm surrounded by all these beautiful works. What are you most proud of?
Oh, night dancers. Oh,
Hmm.
it's gone again. Oh my God. Hold
Just
on.
move your mouse. It might be like a timeout thing.
There we are.
Yeah,
Night dancers because it showed me who I was and the decks, all of them.
all of them. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
you don't have a personal favorite or one where you've finished it and think, actually, that's my best work,
The
or
intuitive
do you,
tarot is my favorite and
is
will
it?
always be because
Yeah.
it educated me. And also, I think the multidimensional because I think it's artistically, it's probably my best.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I've
Do
come to the end
people
of my
want to,
question.
do anyone, has anyone got a burning question?
Um, Vintage Moon says, that's a good question. What tarot deck that's not hers do you think is good? Do you have a favorite tarot deck that's not your work?
Voyager is good, but I can't use it. Um, and no, haven't a clue. I don't actually tend to look at them, and the ones that are coming out now, the AI ones, I would actually
Oh,
put a bonfire, and
no,
that's it.
no, no, absolutely not. Um, and again, how you look at AI art and you see that sort of generic kind of churning out,
Yeah,
and then you look at beautiful oil paintings, that has got emotion, raw emotion put into them, blood, sweat, and tears, years of work.
I think
An
that's it.
AI deck
You tell
that
the difference.
an AI deck that takes minutes to churn out cannot create.
That one is my oldest painting,
Is it?
the devil, and I painted it when
Wow.
I was 16, I think, and it terrified me.
Wow. Imagine imagine painting something yourself and then being terrified by it. I love that. That terrified me. I created it.
Well, it terrified me because I looked at it and thought, "Oh my God, that's me." You know,
Wow, really? Well, that's interesting when you think of the devil, isn't it? Because, yeah, we've all had times, and we are the tarot. It's 78 facets of ourselves. It's 78 life experiences, isn't it? I was just seeing if I have missed any comments, I'll just get it up on my iPad as well. Then do just cut and paste them in again, and I'll try and see. Cheryl's confirming that the regulations that are coming in on Friday are for handmade goods, so that's
that's a bit of a bugger.
good.
I haven't seen this. I'll have to do something about that. People still,
Um,
I think I can still send it if they pay the customs. Uh,
Yeah, I think this is just sort restrictions that are put in place around risk assessing. I seem to have read that somewhere, and um,
couldn't I'm just going to say something. Get rid of bloody Brexit.
I think it's only a matter of time. I do feel that in 4 years there's going to be a rise in populism, and I think in an attempt to try and stop the wave that's coming, they will start to appeal more to the masses and try and avert what's coming. And I think they will do another referendum. Um, so customs is theft. Here's a question. So, what's the story behind not an entire forgetfulness?
God, I can't remember. Hold on. I can't even remember what it looks like. Told you my brain's gone. Oh yeah, yeah, I remember. I've been to a museum and I was chatting to somebody and I said it's almost like I'm standing next to myself and one of me is empty and the other is full. It was a long time ago. And so I painted it. How do you
Wow.
know that? I'm not, that one isn't very well known.
No, that's yeah. I was just thinking that. Oh, and Sean says he adores you.
Thank you.
We all adore you, Scylla. And
Uh,
I really do appreciate you giving up your time and coming in and having a chat. It's been fabulous to look at your work through
and
all the stages. Um, yeah, and I'm glad technology was on our side in the end. We made it all the way through.
we did.
We all adore Scylla. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Is there anything else that you want to say, or anything that you want people to know?
Don't believe in the Anunnaki. She's got something on the stupid screen here. It's all this bullshit about Anunnaki, for God's sake. I do believe that we've had civilizations before. I do believe
Yeah.
that, but I'm not sure that I believe in the Anunnaki.
No. I mean, yeah. There's a very interesting meme that keeps popping up in my thread on social media, where it's some because obviously you look back at things like Stonehenge and different times, and you just realise that something else must have been at play. And there's this particular old, a bit like Machu Picchu type place,
Mm,
and it's showing it through. I think it's something like a 5,000 year
yeah,
span, and how we've evolved over 5,000 years as well, and the different stages of its kind of dilapidation, if you like. But it's fascinating. You think, gosh, yeah, when you see it in a timeline like that every 1,000 years, it just makes you think, doesn't it?
I think we've gone backwards, actually.
Yeah. Well, that's the belief of the Brahma Kumaris. They believe that there's a wheel of I think it's a 6,000 year period, and we just go round and round this wheel until we get some sense and realize how to get off it. Otherwise, it just keeps repeating.
I've given up on humanity.
So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to
Thank you.
everybody that's been here as well, and for taking part. It's been lovely. If you just stay on at the end, and I'll say goodbye to you properly. But
See, someone
um,
was saying Anunnaki is my hamster.
ate my hamster.
Oh, ate my hamster. Oh dear.
Oh, lovely. All right. So yeah, if you just stay on, Cilla,
Oh,
I'll just do the outro, and then I'll say goodbye to you properly. But thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back in the week. But enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you again, Cilla, for your time.
Thank you.